Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney. Today we're talking about unions. And more importantly, when you opt out of a union, right? So if you're in a state or jurisdiction where, specifically, at a union site, you get to decide if you want to be in the union and pay union dues and receive the protections of the union and the services of the union and be subject to the collective bargaining agreement of the union, or conversely, you can opt out and say, I'm not paying any dues. I don't want you filing any grievances for me. I don't need a representative, a shop steward. I don't need any of those things. I don't need it. Okay? And I bring this up because not so long ago, someone called me up and said, hey, I opted out of the union. And I'm stripping all identifying characteristics out of this. Obviously, I would never breach someone's confidentiality. There's no way the person who said this to me can be identified here, just to be clear. But they said, hey, I opted out of my union. I've been working at this place a long time, real long time, and it's always been real smooth. Never a problem. Didn't think I needed a union. Didn't want to be paying those dues anymore. Got rid of them. Actually, I guess never signed up with them would be more accurate. And lo and behold, some time went by, and all of a sudden this person did need their union. Some stuff happened. It was not very clear cut, but there seemed to be like a disciplinary issue, and this individual really wanted to file a grievance, really wanted to fight some discipline that had been issued. So this individual goes to the union and says, hey, I need help. And now, mind you, the union, their response is generally going to be, that's cool, but you're not one of our constituents. We're not representing you. You opted out. That would generally be the answer from a union. Instead, this particular union said, okay, here's the thing. We'll help you, but first you have to pay a year's worth of dues. Now, you can wait a year for us to help you and pay those dues over the year, or you can pay them all now, pay for the year going back, and we'll start helping you right now. That, to my mind, was a very gracious offer. The individual, though, who brought this to my attention, did not agree that that was a gracious offer. In fact, that individual felt the union was extorting her, which is very interesting. I see her point to an extent. I at least see, I actually do not see her point, but I see her perspective. Her perspective is she's at the risk of losing her job. She needs the union's help or she may lose her job. And the union says, pay us 12 months of dues, right? All the money out of the paycheck for 12 months going back, and we'll help you. And her take is, if I don't pay you 12 months of dues, you're not going to help me. I'm going to lose my job, which is how I feed myself and my family. So I get a little bit the perspective of like thinking it's extortion for the union to say, pay us or you might lose your job. But here's the thing. She opted out. She didn't want to be part of the union. That was her right in that jurisdiction. And she made a decision. She took the cash, right? She took more money in her paycheck. There's no dues being taken out. And she said, I don't need it. I trust management. I don't need representation. Now, I'll be honest. There's definitely people who do that, and it works out great for them. There is. I know people who do that. And sometimes that's great. If you have a great relationship with management, if you're very important, if you're a great worker, right? There's all these ways where that could work out for you. But stuff happens. Management changes. Ownership of a business changes. Supervisors change. Schedules change. Your health changes, right? There's rules change. The products that you're working on, the services you provide might change. Your industry might update. Things change. And as things change, without the union there to intercede on your behalf, you are taking a risk, right? Listen, you might say, listen, Vince, you would openly admit not all unions are great. Yeah. No, there are some really garbage unions. And a really good reason to opt out of union dues is if your union is not properly staffed. not properly helping its members, right? If your union just steals money from you and provides no services, which is true of many unions, perhaps as many as 25% of all unions, in my opinion, then yeah, don't pay them. But if you have a good union, an active union that knows what it's doing, at least to some extent, to my mind, it's generally going to be wise to pay your union dues, right? Now, so this person calls me up, and I'll paraphrasing. Basically, the question was, how do I go after this union for trying to extort me? They want me to pay 12 months of union dues, and they won't help me otherwise. Well, I said in response, like, listen, they have to charge you, right? I mean, they can't provide these services for free. And this person said to me, I'll sign up for the union now. I'll start paying, but they need to start helping me right now. And I kind of pointed out, I was like, listen, if they let you do that, then everyone would stop paying their union. Everyone would stop paying, and when something went wrong in the workplace, they would just call the union up and be like, hey, I want to start paying you this month. I need your help. And the union would allow them to pay dues and start working for them and save their job or whatever else they needed, right? So then nobody would pay union dues when they didn't need the union. It's a logical outgrowth of this strategy that she cooked up, right? They ought to just let me start paying dues and help me now, not require 12 months of dues. And my point on that was like, listen, then unions wouldn't exist because nobody would be funding them. There'd be no members of the union paying dues to create the infrastructure of the union, right? And everyone who needed the union would just pay the union only when they needed it, so there wouldn't be enough money to sustain the union. There would be no union, and nobody would have these protections at all. Now, she had a couple of choice things to say to me about that argument. And that's the gig. I get it. And also, I don't blame her. It's a stressful situation, and I don't think she necessarily had 12 months of dues to pay. So, telling me some unpleasant things that I should go do, rolls off my skin. At the end of the day, it's not my job on the line. I'm here to help people, trying to explain what's going on, trying to explain that it's probably worth it to pay the 12 months of union dues to get the protection and keep your job. And if that's not what you want to hear, that's fine. That's fine, right? Like, I'm not here to tell you things you want to hear. I'm here to tell you things you need to hear. So, basically, I wanted to point out, make an intelligent decision about your union. Spend some time. Talk to some people. Get a feel for the stewards. Get a feel for the shop reps, right? Get a feel for the attorneys that your union can put in the field. I know a guy. He collectively bargains for unions. He's an attorney, right? He's incredible. I also know he's replacing some of the most incompetent human beings. Like, I'm not even sure they're human beings. He's replacing people who might be like giant sloths wearing suits, right? Like, these animals who can barely move that existed in, like, prehistory. I think that people just put suits on them and, like, set them at a negotiating table and said, yeah, make a collective bargaining agreement. And, so, like, it's not all of these attorneys are created equal. Do your due diligence. Get a feel for who's fighting for you. Is it a giant sloth who can neither talk nor move? Or is it an active attorney with experience who cares about you? These are important things to know when you make the decision about whether or not you're going to pay union dues. But don't just choose not to pay dues because you want a couple of extra bucks in your pocket. And you can't imagine anything ever going wrong, right? Like, that's what life is. Life is a series of things going wrong, and how well we handle those things and plan for them really dictates how much we enjoy our life, right? So, don't just off the cuff be like, nah, don't care about unions. That is a bad idea. It just is. If unions didn't exist, you'd have less protections. You're opting into a life at work that people feared for hundreds of years. Basically, since the Industrial Revolution began, people were working, and when they don't have unions, when they don't have collective organized labor, they just work at the whim of the employer. Now, it's great for the employer. It's often not all that great for the employee. So put some thought into this. All right? Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this was thought-provoking. Hopefully nobody else tells me what to go do. Take care, everybody.